the recording and everything, because what you have started us with is really beautiful. And Spirit often leads this discussion, which is why I love whether one person shows up or 2 or 20, it doesn't matter to me. I'm always going to show up and Spirit leads me. And what you just said is kind of leading what's been in my heart as well. First of all, just because of your loss, when somebody in our frequency, our group, where we share a love space, you know, when one person's hurting, we all are hurting. Like, we truly were all thinking about you and sending you so much love. And then, you know, like the day after I got home, I got a text from my family. And my mom, who's 78 years old, has never texted in her life. Didn't know how to text, really, just got a smartphone. And so I didn't also know that I had left my phone and just was outside for a little bit on Saturday, and I'd left my phone inside. And when I got back, I had missed all these calls. I'd missed her saying, Belinda, I'm trying to reach you. I have bad news, you know. So she finally just had to say, you know, Carolyn, my mom's the oldest of all the sisters. There's 6 of them, and so we're a very tight clan, and we're all the cousins, and all of us little girls are very tight. Well, my cousin, who's about 17 years younger than me, so she would be like 37 or 8 maybe, they found her dead. And so, you know, it's very shocking. My little young cousin that I played with, and so it's hard because, like my mom said, she goes, you know, you don't ever expect to find your children dead at 37 years old in bed.
Wow.
I haven't been able to reach them for 2 days. And, you know, my aunt was supposed to go to her house anyway that day and help her clean carpets because she's been very sick. And it was almost like the doctors weren't taking it serious with what was wrong, because it was a general variable autoimmune disease, but nothing that could understand. And, you know, without of help, we know that just pains us to lose anyone. But as a result, it always brings people together and makes us so much grateful for life. And so I told my mom just tonight, in fact, it'd be crazy if I shared it in a message thread. I said, Mom, I said, I know this is horrible, but have you ever thought about if you ever just got a call and they said, hey, Miss Foster, just to let you know they found Belinda dead? And that made me start crying, to even think of my life being lost, because it's so precious. And my mom, she said, yeah, no, she goes, and I'm crying too. Like we couldn't even talk about it. And I said, or Daniel or my sister, I said, Mom, I just want to let you know every day how much I love you, and that no matter what happens, my heart is just so at peace with us. And that's the key, is just that being at peace. And I mean, truly that ties in as well to this chapter, which we're on, chapter 8, which it's funny because normally people say, hey, I'll do this chapter, that chapter, or I'll ask somebody like, hey, Jason, you want to do this particular chapter? And, you know, we've taken off a couple of weeks. We've been busy with celebration. And I was like, well, you know what? I guess it's for me to do. And when I saw that it's the chapter of non-resistance, I just got so tickled. I'm like, that's the number one law in my mind, other than law of vibration. But you can't vibrate where you need to be vibrating if you're resisting. And so to me, this law of non-resistance is the most critical. And when we think about grudges and things going on in our family, and we think about, you know, people who are mad and living in the past, all that's so crazy, because that's resisting something that's now history, like, or all the wars that we fight, right? Or all the political battles we're constantly fighting. So we just get more of, we're not going anywhere, in other words. And so it's got to start. It's got to start here, our hearts and our mindset of that which you resist persists. And, you know, I mean, Jason, I know you love this chapter too, because the great biblical reference, and all of you who might have read it, with Jesus being like one of the greatest teachers of all time of that particular law. So powerful, isn't it?
It is very powerful. I love it.
You know, I could almost just sit here and read this entire chapter out loud, like on this call, because it's so worthy of that. But but how many have read this chapter already?
I read it, but it's been a while. I mean, I haven't read it recently, but I love the law of non-resistance, and it's very applicable in my life right now. So that's why I wanted to jump on the call. I meant to reread this chapter today, but I have just been absolutely, like catching up since getting home from Texas and all of that junk. I feel a little, I was just a little bit overwhelmed today with a lot of different things going on. So I didn't get to reread it.
Oh, but, and that's okay. We're just going to talk about it, but, basically, he starts out like just giving kind of some examples in general life, which I never thought about, that in the business world, you even see that law of non-resistance, like, making things easy for customers, like sending the link, online ordering now, don't even have to go out of your house or your bed. You can just shop from your bed in your pajamas. Things like all the downstairs basement businesses. And when I think about New York City, because what was it, Eileen's basement, and
no problem solved, dude.
A lot of
no, I'm not leading it. What is it?
A lot of hold on one second.
Taking off my page.
So it's the it's all those laws. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. And if you want to, say something, just unmute yourself. But, like the basement. So I never really thought about, like, what's easier for somebody to go upstairs to go shopping or go downstairs to go shopping. And so they were even using that as an example in this book. Of course, again, we're on this version of the book, but it doesn't really matter. But it is by Raymond Holliwell, chapter 8. Today, by the way, is August 15th, 2016, if anybody's watching this as a recording. And he talks about that a good salesman, the way they even approach consumer, is that they never try to argue or win a point when you're explaining your products, goods, or services. You really you don't resist against what someone else is saying to you about what you're trying to offer. You just learn that somewhere in there you both have perhaps the same goal, or you wouldn't even be having that initial conversation like Walter, in your wholesale car business, right? They're obviously looking for a car. They're obviously having, there's a lead there, and there's an overlap in what you do. And with us in the wellness, there's obviously people they wouldn't have reached out. So then as we start sharing with them, the key is to stay aligned. But when you start resisting and they go, well, that's never worked for me. I've always, I've done shakes before. That's a lot of money. What's the first thing? We're trying to answer those questions, but a lot of times we actually end up in some sort of a tug of war, even not meaning to. And I think this law is a sensitive law because it states, just like a stream, that it is very, very difficult, actually, those smaller things, like the smaller. It says another lesson we may learn from the stream is that when it is small and struggling, it has the most difficult time. And to me, I can think about that as just everyday little stuff that we don't think about, that's setting the vibration and the tone for other things in our life. Such as the guy that wants to come over on you that didn't use the signal or cut you off. Like those are resistance, blow the horn, you speed up, like that's those little tiny daily things are like that stream, like everything's a resistance. But then as the stream gets bigger and it figures out, it might be a trickle and it might take it a while to get around a big boulder, but over time there's a lot of that until it branches out into a bigger tributary, a larger force of water. And I feel like that would be like us in our flow, where we're living the laws now.
Belinda, may I share?
Please do. Yes.
I personally have been living the law of non-resistance with faith. I believe that the law of non-resistance, it's you applying faith and let God take the wheel. Because of course we come from fear, right? Now I understand a lot better now when we come from fear versus love and allow God to take the wheel for you. Give me a minute, please. Anyways, I just went through a great action and allowing God and allowing the law of not resistance, regardless of the emotional challenge, and having to go through it. Meaning, I was back then when I knew I had to take this action, when I knew I had to go for it and decide where exactly do I desire to be in order to give a better life for my son, meaning spiritually, meaning joy, meaning happiness, without the material part, because that part I had it. But it's so horrible when you don't have the freedom for you to say, oh yeah, I can't go and do and this and that. So the law of non-resistance, I learned this past weekend, you just be. And if that rock comes in front of the water, you're like, okay, cool, it's here. But I'm going to be okay because now in this moment, as I'm speaking to you all, everything is well. Everything is peace. Everything is love. And even if you come from the energy of giving love to that other person who's making it difficult on you, for example, or the situation, as you were saying, that one that, cuts you in front, or even business, they're trying to prove you wrong. When you truly do let go, which means not resisting and just meet them where they're at and come from peace and love, life it's a lot better. And you just know everything's going to come into place. You just know that God has it for you one way or the other, and you don't worry anymore. I now understand this law even more better than I thought I did.
Oh yeah, that's a great share, because what you're saying, and not everyone believes in God. So, we might say, well, I wonder what they do, or what about people who, I even know people who are like not religious, atheists, they're agnostic, whatever, like a lot of different, and yet their flow is pretty amazing. I'm thinking of one in particular that it just seems like no matter what, everything is supplied. Everything is supplied. And I'm like, wow. And that person will say, I'm so lucky. I'm like, it ain't luck, but you're doing it right. You may not know what you're doing, my man. You're doing it right. You should teach a course on how not to know how to do what you're doing, because I think we're overcomplicating this stuff, right? She just sets an intention. She sets an intention. That's asking, whether you call it prayer. I've asked, requested, whatever. It doesn't matter. She sets an intention, and I love her to death. My God, like one of her intentions was, she goes, I want to play tennis, but I need some tennis lessons. And of course, tennis lessons cost money. Like, where I would sit here and go, God, I don't really have that money right now. I don't really have that time. See, these thoughts enter into my mind. So there's resistance already. Right. Whereas the law really states for us to stay in a state of vibration and joy. And tennis would be good for me. I would meet other people. It's serving my higher soul. It's giving me physical activity. And I'm outside. What a blessing to be communing with nature. So tennis would be a good intention for me. She set the intention. And I'm like, well, let me know what you find out and how much lessons are. Next thing I know, she's been playing tennis every day for a month. And I'm like, what happened? Yeah. She said, yeah, I met this guy, and guess what? He was a tennis player. And he would teach me for free. I'm like, oh, damn. I'm over here trying to calculate how much money I got to save. See, she's open and has no idea. I can tell you story after story after story with this chick. And it's like fulfilled.
Oh, wow.
She doesn't resist it. She just expects it.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you're focused.
She lets it go, which is where you call faith. right?
Right. Right.
She just says, I want to play tennis. But then, she'll sit down and get talking to somebody and like, what do you do? And like, well, I'm a tennis. Like, oh, you play tennis? I've been wanting to play tennis because it just happens because she set that intention and it came to her.
Right.
So another one is every time she goes out to, have a drink or dinner and she's by herself, it's not because she's female, none of that, because it doesn't work for me.
Belinda.
I'm the one like, oh, I got to pay yours too. She gets her meal paid and her drink. She goes,
Wow.
oh my God, I went to this steakhouse. And I'm like, that's a really expensive steakhouse. You can afford that? She goes, no, this guy bought my whole tab, picked up my whole tab. But it happens to her everywhere she goes. Everywhere. And I was like, well, can I go out with you?
Right. True, but that's when you let go. You're right on that. She's not resisting. She's just placing the intention to.
And I'll tell you somebody who's really great with this is Casey and Chris Dravenstadt, like especially when it comes to finances and money. Right. And I know it's not about material things. It's about comfort, making sure your family has enough, that your child's needs are, you've got your housing, you can go on family vacations. And there's so many families. I mean, truly the number one resistant, if you had to look at statistics and figure out what's the number one law maybe people might be resisting when it comes to poverty, there's a tie right there, right? Yep. We must have a lot of people resisting financially. Now, what are they resisting? They're resisting the fact that they're having to sell their freedom. They're probably resisting the fact that it seems like only people with college degrees get promotion, and then you got a brown nose, right? So there's all this dialogue and programming and resisting in their head, and that's what's stopping them from receiving flow and nothing else.
Right. Yep, that's totally on point. Resisting that there's a possibility that you can fulfill those dreams despite the fact of the reality they're facing in that moment, because that's about perspective as well. How you see the experience you're having in this moment, which is at the end, it was still our choice, thinking for the better good of us, that was a good choice. Which is another thing too that I love this law, the law of non-resistance, is also teaching you what is that we're learning that in this right now in this moment, and how is it going to help us do better, including helping others, as you said, not necessarily be religious or anything, but then subconsciously letting go and know that one way or the other you will receive that you desire as a dream. And you remind me when you were describing your friend, that's exactly how I used to be back in high school. I remember my best friend, we will only have like $20 in our pocket. We didn't really used to like party every weekend, like clubbing or anything, but it would be like one weekend out of the month that we were like, okay, let's go dancing. But we only have $20 each. And I remember I would say, oh, don't you worry. We got cover the entrance and one drink. Everything else is going to fall. You're going to see. And it always worked one way or the other, not because we were female. It was just part of it, probably, yes. But my point is that when you totally let go, as you said, it just falls in place to get what it is that you're looking for. As long as you're not harming others.
That's right. There's always enough. There's always source. There's always supply. And there's always flow. And so whenever it's not coming, I kind of had this revelation. In fact, I'll show you at the risk of you seeing my my little dirty home, but it's not too bad today. Okay, so I may have to turn this on. Hold on. So when I got back from, I don't know if you can see these things.
Yes.
Okay, so I was very inspired to make my refrigerator a vision board, and so I had this revelation that whatever it is that I am not receiving, whatever it is that I'm concerned about, for example, lack of money, Well, if this was a coin has only two sides. And so imagine this is one side of the coin and this is the other side of the coin, but it's the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be on the side of the coin that is the side of the laws. And if I start believing in lack of money, then that's what I will attract to me, because we all know that's how vibration works. And that is a low vibration, and that's a negative vibration. And so negative vibration will attract a negative vibration. However, if that's my hang up, then why don't I live on the other side of the coin? And what's the other side of the coin? Give more away.
You have it
How
all.
about that? Whenever I feel like it's about me, and let me explain the detail of how these shakes work so that you understand that it's got undenatured protein and 90, amazing things, and I can name every one. And let me now tell you about ashwagandha root. Who cares? It's like, shut up, Belinda. That's about me. That's ego. Nobody cares about that.
Right.
They just only care that you care. So that says live on the other side of that coin. And what is the other side of that one? Serve others more. It's never about me. It's service. It's always service with love. Now, when I think about, again, because lack seems to be my biggest thing, because I grew up in a very poor family, right? So when I think about, God, there's just not enough time, not enough this, not enough that, that means that's for me to say, stop, live on the other side. What's the opposite side of that coin? There's more than you could ever use.
Right.
Now that makes me feel good. That makes me feel bad. When I realize my ego got in the way and I feel like, oh, I owe that person an apology, that makes me feel, this makes me feel good. This makes me feel bad. This makes me feel good. This makes me feel bad. So it starts to be really simple of where my resistance is coming from. Over here, when okay, maybe it's a girl thing, but it could be a guy thing. Women will do a quick assessment and issue you a fashion citation now really quick, won't we, ladies?
Yes.
Pretty funny. Just joking around a little bit. But there's judgment and jealousy, whether or not we've identified it, because those are kind of harsh words. But we have said, well, they're lucky. They were born da-da-da. Or at least they have a husband that supports them. Or he's single, so he can do that. It doesn't matter what your situation is. It's very easy for these little thoughts to just float into your mind. So you got to be very mindful of your thoughts. So that makes me feel bad when I catch myself doing that. So what's the opposite side of that? Well, it's, first of all, what is that? It's fear and insecurity disguised. It's just fear and insecurity disguised. And then that just takes me back around to the flip side, really, of this card should be pay more compliments, honor the person that I'm judging, honor the person that I'm comparing myself against, right? So give more once again. And then this one, can you read that, or is it backwards? I don't know. It says, when my intention co-creating power machine isn't working, it's because it's not plugged in. That's to remind me just to get back into alignment. Get back into alignment. And then, of course, I have these little things here that we got at our event. And then there's the famous vision board that Dave MacArthur had in his presentation, which kind of blew my mind. So what am I doing? I just made a decision. I got to live in the flow, and I have to work with these laws. I cannot break these laws. These laws are everything. This is what the Bible teaches us. It's what any wise prophet has ever taught us. Crazy. What do you guys have to say about all this jabber here?
Not crazy.
Cindy and I, we don't mind now. We'll carry on this whole show, but we like the men. Men can't get a word in edgewise when you got two women.
Hey,
Hey!
I have been thinking about the LNR, or Law of Non-Resistance, all day. just seemed to have a lot of, like God was giving me a lot of inspiration. I had my note cards. I found all my note cards in my toolbox, and I just started writing some. I'm checking tools and writing notes all day. So I have a large assortment of thoughts. One is, all right, resistance to change. I always just started thinking about the things in my life that would be obstacles to my growth or my progress. And I think fear is one of them. Let's see, resistance to change, impatience. Let's see. Quarreling or disagreements. And you can pretty much name any kind of negative emotion or emotional state or attitude, and find a and look for God's perspective on it. You know. Sorry, I'm getting notifications at the same. Okay, so
Awesome.
so here's an example. I'll just try to pick one. Just take your medicine. You know, parents will tell their children, this is, or their caregivers will tell us, you know, just take your medicine. You know, it's good for you. You know, it's like, and sometimes we say, oh no, I don't really want that. You know, it tastes bad. It just, you know, it's the, you know, I don't like the way it makes me feel. You know, all kinds of things. You know, or maybe it's our cleanse day and say that, well, I just can't do that second day. You know, I can do the first day. But we all know that 80% of the progress in the cleanse day happens in the second day. So that's an example of, like, you know, you know, we desire the better and the best things, but some things should not be avoided. You know, I feel like some, whether you call them obstacles or whether you call them hardships or you call them tests, or whether you call them challenges, or whatever it is that you call them, from my perspective, God places things in my life for my good. And it's part of a process of making me better. And so, so I know, you know, I trust God that He knows, He sees the bigger picture than what I do. And I know He has a plan for me, and His plan is to I think it's Joshua 1:9. It says, for I know the plans that I have for you, say the Lord, plans to prosper you and give you a hope. And that's a little bit of a paraphrase, but essentially, He has big plans for us, and He hopes that we're going to participate and not always challenge Him. You know, it's like, you know, a potter and clay. You know, the clay. If you was the clay, you probably not like all the handling, you know, or the pressure. being applied on your life from all sides, you know. But in the end, you can come out quite beautiful, transformed you. And that's really kind of a lot of our struggle is really not recognizing that some of these things are for our good, you know. And it isn't like, oh, you just simply go around it, you just flow around it, you know. And there's a time and place for everything, and I believe it's a time to sit down and reevaluate and think on, you know, how on your own life and on what's going on in your own heart, and then say, you know, why am I having this disagreement? Why am I having this confrontation? What is this really about? You know, this morning there was a guy following. He was on my bumper. I just left the house, hadn't drove it like 2 miles, and I'm trying to keep a safe distance, driving defensively and all that, and he is just on my bumper. We're all going the same speed, but he's on my bumper. I signal well in advance. When I finally do turn, there's the beep beep on the back. You know, I'm thinking, well, what in the world is, you know, and I don't know, maybe my tail light, maybe my turn signal's out, you know. He didn't really, you know, he didn't recognize what my intentions were. I did signal my intentions, but maybe that light's not working. So I'm going to ask the question. I just want to throw a question out there, and I know we've been talking a bit, but let's see. Let me ask you a question. It's how often do we struggle just simply because we lack enough good information? Or we approach a problem with a lack mentality. I think Belinda was kind of leading to that. She was talking about it.
So, yeah, go ahead. Did you have more to add to that? That's the question, right? Okay. Well, I'd like to go back and just add to what you've contributed, which I so appreciate. I respectfully disagree on a lot of what you believe, which is perfectly great, right? Because we all have that free will, which is what I love. Oh, I love free will because you get to decide. But in a lot of ways, I'm going to agree with you. It's just different semantics. So that's the good news. When I think about God sticking obstacles in front of people just to mess with us, just because he thinks like you just need that, I'm just going to put these obstacles in front of you because it's going to make you better. What I believe is that we put those obstacles in front of us. We do. Because we have the free will. And the laws are God's laws. And the laws say those obstacles don't have to be there if you practice the law of non-resistance, which Jesus taught us. So it's just slightly different, you know? So when I see obstacles, they are for me to, this is where we agree. They are for me to, and really doesn't matter whether we agree or not, because it's not about that. It's about what each of us are applying in our lives, and the religion has nothing to do with it at all. It's what's going on in your life, and why is what you have in your life right now and not in mine, or what Chris has going on in her life, why is that in her life and I want what she's got, but it's not happening to me. So or why Walter is facing a certain challenge that I'm not. And that's because we all have that free will to put obstacles in our path or not. Now, when the obstacles show up, that's our sign. Woo, we just kind of attracted something we don't want any part of. And then what we do is the more we push on that obstacle, pushing like that boulder, I ain't going around that boulder. I'm a little tiny droplet of a stream, and I'm going to sit here until I chisel inside the boulder. Well, good luck. We'll see you in the next universe. Because what that is over time, through the law of non-resistance, without the friction, the ultimate goal of that stream is to be fulfilled, to return to its source. And that is our ultimate, is to be returned to source, because source is a beam of light. Source is not density that's solid, that has friction capability. And so when I think of obstacles in my path, it's because I've gotten out of alignment with the flow that God gave me and made me when I came forth. So that's kind of my take on all that. I see Chris joined us in driving and tuning in. I don't know if you heard any of that or not.
I just caught a little bit. I was trying to figure out how to activate the camera on the phone. I'm driving back through the amazing red rocks of Sedona. Today's my last day.
Yay.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think my battery may die any moment, but I was trying to dial in to catch as much as I could. So
you stuck around out west from Las Vegas in Celebration. That is so amazing.
Yes, I've been here ever since, and I fly back to North Carolina tomorrow. So it's been indescribable.
I can't imagine. I want to see do a slideshow and show us all your pictures.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to be a little tour guide for us.
Yep, I know. I love LNR. So,
well, you've been such a teacher to me. I mean, I've watched you come out of nowhere and actually apply these laws like no one I've ever seen, really, other than Casey. As far as in our little tribe and our group, and Sue Zabel is a great supplier, a great exerciser of the laws. She really is.
Yeah,
I like to think I am in a lot of ways. There's areas I'm not, but
Awesome. Well, catch me up on what you guys have been talking about. Or are you moving on to another thought?
Well, no, I mean, that's just kind of where we are. I mean, Jason was giving his thoughts about the resistance was placed there by God because it's something we need to learn to be better, to make us better, to improve us. And so it was just like some semantics where I was saying, I believe we place the resistance there. God doesn't. In my mind, is what we've attracted and drawn because of our free will. And when we meet that resistance, that's our aha moment to say whatever it is we're getting that we don't want, that's because we are drawing that to us by resisting. And by resisting, you get more of what that thing is that you're resisting.
Mm-hmm. I was just reading about kind of allowing, I think it goes along with the law of non-resistance, but just kind of allowing the universe to kind of flow through us. And I agree. I think that sometimes when it feels like there are days where it just feels like you're kind of like walking around in a dream and everything happens just perfectly, like one thing at a time the entire way through, and it's like you're just kind of in a flow. And then there are other days that are just interrupted by, what you like resistance, it's just like, oh my, like what is going on today? Like you're just like bumping into walls, or like things are just popping up that interrupt, whatever you had planned. And I think, for me, the practice has been to just, notice when that's happening. But at the same time, like not get drawn into it. So like the old me, and not to say that I'm over it by any means, but would absolutely allow something or multiple things to completely wreck my day. I mean, to get sucked into it emotionally and, and be fighting things and like arguing, or this is not, like just be, thrown off. And there are certain situations that I've also noticed, like very recently, where I have to pay really close attention to what kind of energy like I'm operating in, that if I'm kind of in the wrong place, if there's too much going on, like stimulation, chaos, and I want to be quiet, we can't always have a perfect world and all of the circumstances that we want. And so I think for me, the practice has been really just kind of like noticing it and allowing things to happen. Like, okay, well, this is what's going on right now, but not allowing it to completely take over, my thoughts and my emotions to the point that I feel like I'm out of control. And so I think I don't know that it's going to be possible to live a life that's just free of resistance, right? Like, I mean, things are going to happen like that are going to kind of throw us off course. But
because I believe that resistance is actually your GPS beeping at you.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? It could be that, or how many times has something you thought was resistance actually been the better thing teed up, that like you thought it was going to be this that was good for you to do, but because you missed your flight or because you couldn't get the car rented at a certain time, all of that lined up to now for you now to meet somebody else, or somebody else comes across your path, or have a room you wouldn't have gotten because that room got sold, so you had to go to this hotel. Well, you know what I mean? Like, so I look at it as both ways, and for us to sit quietly and through meditation, especially what is the meditation, Wayne Dyer, japa meditation of the like Allah, God, that the way that resonation will give you that clarity, where if you just stay in that flow. And you're right, it's practicing it, being like the master, being like Christ, like he was the ultimate practicer of all that is.
Well, and I'm reading a book that I just read this morning, and highlighted and made notes about, the how, right? Like the how we're responsible for creating, our desires and the end result. And that's all. Mm-hmm. So like, what do we want? Like in the end, the way that we get there is not our responsibility. It's God's responsibility, and it's magic. Like when you can sit back and actually allow God to, weave this web of like one situation and bring another person into your life that said this, that did that, and then you get to that end result. It begins to be so much fun to watch and like be that observer, like, oh, like let's do that. And for me, like with law of non-resistance is when I'm trying to control the how. Mm-hmm. So when I start to get involved and say, well, no, I got to go here at this time, and if that time doesn't work, I'm going to resist it. And I'm going to say, no, I knew it had to be that time, or I need, like, if I'm resisting the chain of events, what I'm really doing is resisting God's ability to direct me, to kind of, allow me to kind of go in this flow and be like, hey, Chris, watch this, what I'm getting ready to do. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm too busy blindly, like concerned with my own plan, with my own, this is how I think this is going to go, and I'm going to fight for it to make sure it goes that way. Then I kind of close off that ability to allow God, the universe, to just kind of take over and like weave that perfect web. And like, when I think about like all things happen, all things are for our good, I mean, right. Biblically too, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. Like if we allow that to happen, all things will kind of work together, for the good. And so that's, I mean, my, one of my biggest takeaways from this chapter, and like other things that I'm reading, right now, is really about like relinquishing that control of the how, like allowing, which is relinquishing resistance to the way things are happening, right? Like you just said, like if you miss a flight, like don't be pissed, don't be throwing a tantrum. Think, okay, well, there's a reason why this is happening, you know, like
it's so much more fun that way
Yeah.
too, isn't it? Like, oh my God, this is meant to be. I'm expecting now.
Yeah.
Chris, I love what you shared because it's so true when it comes to you think you're not resisting, but then in a certain point you are, meaning you're aware of the laws. You're aware of the universal laws. You know, there's different ones, and the law, it's the law. And so you're thinking, oh yeah, I'm doing it. And because I know the laws, this is going to work. So in my own experience regarding my own relationship, romantically speaking, I used to always say that, oh, no matter what, I'm just going to ignore, you know, whatever. I know the laws and it's going to work. I'm not going to resist it. Yeah. You just continue to listen, right? And you know it's not right to continue listening because then your subconscious it's recording all of it, but you know the laws. You're aware. You're still fighting it. In a way, you're still resisting. So fast forward to now, in this moment that we're talking, you're sharing that. As soon as I let go and I allowed the universe to do what it is supposed to do, now I'm like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be for whatever the reason is and the lesson is. I understand it, but then I'm not resisting anymore. I'm just at ease and peace and joy because something good for both. It's happening amazing just now as we speak. So I totally understand where you're coming from, that aspect where you're like, oh no, but I said I was going to be able, even I have this obstacle, because if I have this obstacle and I can fulfill it knowing the laws, I'm a testimony. You know, coming from that ego or pride.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the ego. It's like, you know, what we're doing is really saying like, I know better than God does.
Right.
Like my way is better. I'm fighting for my way, my ego. Like, no. I know that this is what needs to happen, as opposed to saying, you know what, if this is not, if I'm resisting, if this is too difficult, then something's off.
Exactly.
Right? Like it should be a nice little flow of
right.
life.
Right. So I totally understand your point, and Jason and Belinda's this. I take it as a lesson versus you have to go through this obstacle because you're not getting it, for example. So I take it as a lesson in that moment, and I see as Jesus Christ, right? He was just easygoing, I'm going to call it, you know, easygoing, let it go and become from love, and it will happen. But then a little bit of doubt, a little bit of resistance, a little bit of anger, that's it, to light it up and start fighting, you know, start resisting. And this why it's so profound, because it's so much into it. And if you reverse engineer like I do everything, it can become overwhelming. Not simple.
Yeah, you know, I love this. I was just like, what we're talking about. I just happened to look down, and in my book, this exact page was open. It says, blessing others, like love those who hate you, despise you, sorry. So, like when it comes to relationships, blessing calls forth the highest good within you. And the highest good within you can only attract the highest good from another. To attract such good, you are running around all opposition and abuse. Thus, to live the law with others about you does not especially favor the others so much as it favors you. It affects others in that it takes away from them the weapons of hate, malice, revenge, and the like, and their love and interest will be reciprocal with yours. If a man resists a situation, he will have it always with him. If he tries to run away from it, like a shadow, it follows him. And repeatedly, he will meet it again. If he ignores the hardness of the condition and fearlessly works around it, he will find a time when that hard condition will have been absorbed and removed. Accept the condition as some evidence of good. Look for that good, and by being acceptable to it, more and more evidence of it appears. Agree with my adversary is another way of saying that nothing worthwhile and lasting is ever gained by argument. He who is convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. To disagree with one only causes that one to put on his full armor to collect all his forces in opposition to yours. To agree with your worthy opponent leaves him defenseless and without need of his armament. To offer no resistance makes it easy for one to be amicable, and he who thought himself your enemy will find it a pleasure and a privilege to be a friend. Now that is power, guys. That is power of love.
Yeah, totally. Love this.
Amazing. Chris, where are you parked now? Are you at a nice Sedona spa? Or... Look at you. Look at you.
I'm in my amazing room. I just pulled into the parking lot of the bed and breakfast I'm staying at, so I had
I love it.
run up and charge my phone before dinner. I love the what we resist persists. That it's like it is so pointless to fight against what's happening. You know, like it's so like it because it's just going to continue. It's almost like it's just going to keep getting worse. So it's like for me, it's like I've got to find a way to, when something's not, going my way or whatever, just really, it's like a surrender, like, well, this is the way I thought, something was going to go, but it's not, and there's a reason for it. And I know that it's for my higher good, whatever the reason is. So even if I don't know what it is, like to accept that and allow, again, like become the observer, like, okay, this is what's happening. So let me roll with it and figure out like what the next step is. But the more I kind of let go of, it's like I can feel it now. Before I was so into ego and control and my way, that I couldn't even see it. But it's like now it's just like, I feel like it's like, in my face a lot of the time, that it's like, okay, like your way is not the way that this is going to happen. It's like the faster I kind of get in line with that and take a step back and like surrender to the fact that it's not going to be my way. I feel like the faster things get back on track.
Totally. That is awesome. Yeah. It's so, yeah, I mean, all those things, I just love it because they do change your course. They change your course. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So if we attracted them there, it's our little GPS. If it's something we don't want, and we can remove it. If you could call it forth, you can get rid of it. If it's something that is, you're like in the flow, and it's just like, like how did I attract, I don't know, something silly that you're not looking at as an obstacle. It's just like, I don't know what would be a good example, but there's just some things, like I've had things pop up where now, like, okay, if I'm sitting in traffic, like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. Like that to me used to be an obstacle. Now I'm like, I'm chill, man. I get there when I get there.
Yeah. It's such a happier way to live life. It
does.
does. Yeah. Like, it's just like to let it, the more that I am like learning to let things go, man, it's just like the easier things get.
Yeah, and I love traffic. It's just a simple illustration. I was in it today, and I was like, Lord have mercy, school started back. Here I am, get all these people running to get youngins. And I'm like,
yeah.
I should have left earlier. Should have gone to the bank before school let out. And I was like, no, this is good. You need to sit here. And as a result, I ended up on a radio station because I'm sitting there stuck in traffic and they're doing construction. Y'all know 385 is not the best road for construction, 385 Woodruff Road. It's traffic jam every day anyway. But, I discovered a station that is a spiritual station I haven't listened to in a long time. And one of my favorite spiritual teachers was on there. And I'm like, oh, my God, there's Greg Laurie from harvest.org, and I love his program. I was like, I haven't heard of it in ages. So I was like, all right, thank you. I was so appreciative of that. And then when I pulled up to where I was late, I sat in the car for another 20 minutes. Because I want to hear that program.
That's funny.
Set a good vibration today. So, well, guys, that's all I have. That was we could do this one every day.
Absolutely.
Chris, I love that you jump on no matter where you are. That means a lot to me. Cindy, Jason, all you guys always show up. Walter, we're glad to have you. So what'd you think? It's your first time tonight, right? Hold on. Let me unmute you.
Okay. No, I just said it is my first time, and I really enjoyed it. Just kind of jumping in and kind of listening to what you guys were talking about, and definitely understanding. But I guess by the next couple of times, I'll be able to kind of roll in.
This is a Bible. If you look at all of ours, they're all marked up. Like there's not a page that does not have writing on it. I know Chris is the same way. I know Cindy's is, look.
Oh, yeah.
Jason, I know yours is the same way.
Well, mine's getting there because mine's new. So I got to get there.
Every sentence can be pretty profound. Every paragraph in here, just like if you're like, whoa, let me read that again.
And it's great as an audio book too, as well. I mean, slow down, like if you have Audible, you can slow it down. That's the way I have been listening to it. I haven't been reading it, I've been listening to it. So, but I've listened to it.
Yeah, I love doing both, listening and reading. So next week, guys, is chapter 9, Law of Forgiveness.
That's a good one. So that's a good one.
Anybody want to volunteer, or you just kind of want to wait and see if some, just do it as a team, do it together? Like, I don't mind kind of setting it up, getting us going.
I've heard one thing about forgiveness is this: forgiveness is the gift we give ourselves.
Yes.
I'll take that one. I'm working on forgiveness, like deep, no joke. I mean, so I'll take over forgiveness for next week, and looking forward to it. Today was amazing, and so happy to see you all and hear you all, because you're part of my support system. So I'm always so grateful to be here and be blessed by you all.
Thank you. We feel the same way about you. And Chris, we love you. And Walter and Jason, we love you. We're so grateful for y'all all tonight. I'm just grateful for this book club. We're going to do this book club every how many chapters are in here?
11.
Every 11 weeks.
We start over. I love that.
We're going to be masters of this.
Yes.
I'm with you. We're not even going to need the book anymore. We're going to be like, let's talk about the law of non-resistance. Yeah, let's talk about that again.
Yeah.
I don't need no book.
Right.
They're just like so overlapping, and we got law of sacrifice, and then the last one is law of obedience.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is exciting. I can't believe we're almost done.
Second round, almost over. Isn't it cool?
Totally cool. Well, everybody have a great night. Chris, have fun. Jason, Walter, thank you men for joining us. Cindy, always. We'll see you guys next Monday.
Awesome. Bye. Love you all.
Love you too.